Hello, everybody. I am Reginald Bullock, and we're here with Trey, and this is Just Living Life. I hope you've been watching us and looking at some of the other episodes and learning. We have fun doing it, so we're glad that you're here joining us, and we're about to do it again. What's up, Trey?
What's up, Reggie? How's everything with you, man?
All's good in the hood, man.
Hey, I understand that. As always, actually, I was about to lie. It's not always good, but at least in the day, though, I try to at least sleep peacefully, knowing that the day's going at least somewhat productive. There's always a nice little journey, always some progression forward. So you mentioned power, and I know you were talking about leaders, and I know we talked about leaders and managers before. Um, so what sort of, I guess, power comes with leadership to you, and then what power comes with managerial? Because I think there is a benefit to, like, there is a beneficial power aspect to managers as well as leaders, even though leaders are few higher for you at least.
So it depends on the position, right? Because, a lot of times it's associated with the position or position description or levels of responsibility or budget, all of that kind of stuff determines the amount of power.
Right.
But what kind of power comes with leadership? Those are two separate things.
Power and leadership are two separate things.
Oh yeah, leadership and power are two separate things.
Now I would think, because again, if I'm leading people, that sounds like power, like Kobe, Phil Jackson, going to sports. I got all of sports. They had power, whether it was them being, they could be assholes to somebody. I'm not saying they were. I'm sure they were, but like, I'm not saying. I'm just saying they could have been, or they could have been influential people towards this team. I think they had power. So that's why I'm saying, why do you say power and leadership aren't really?
The same.
Yeah.
So with leadership, it's a whole different mindset of taking care of people.
Mhm.
When you are a leader, you also have a strategic vision.
Right.
You have a operational plan
Mhm.
that you're going to execute to achieve goals and objectives and things like that,
Okay.
right? And so that's a leadership responsibility,
Right.
and that's what leaders should do,
Right.
right? And so, for instance, when I'm coaching some of my clients, I remind them that that person who works for you has a spouse, and children, and mother, father, and family, and therefore that household is being taken care of. Kids got to go to school. So you, as a leader, you're responsible for that household, not just that employee. And if you don't feel that, and if you don't care,
Mhm.
then what kind of leader are you? Now, power is a whole different mindset from that.
Right.
Yeah, and so power, like I said before, it gets into. I mean, power is a word that to me kind of evolved to determine who is stronger or better than the other person, who
Mm.
has that level of strength or capability over somebody else. But leadership is not that.
Okay. Interesting. I guess I would view leadership as being viewed over somebody else too, because again, it's like it's levels to this
No,
essentially.
no. For instance, you have decentralized leadership,
Mhm.
you have servant leadership, you have transformational leadership, and then you also have leaders who are not necessarily the point person,
Mhm.
right? And so you could have folks that are followers,
When
but
you
they're
said
still
that point, when you said they're not the point person,
right.
what do
They're
you
not
mean?
in
They're not.
charge at
Yeah.
all, but they are informal leaders.
Why wouldn't that be a manager then? I guess.
So you're putting titles on it. Leadership is responsibility, not a title.
Okay.
Leadership is being a leader and in leadership is a responsibility. It has nothing to do with manager or director or president and all. You would hope that they're leaders,
Mhm.
but they're just titles to fit a position description based on a classification of whatever the thing is that they have to do. That has nothing to do with leadership. Leadership is leadership. Leadership is the stuff that I talk, and that's taking care of people.
Interesting. So, like, when we're talking about, again, talking about managers and leaders, I would think because managing would be a title, it sounds like leadership is something that's earned, right? So I guess I would view that more as like a power, if you will, right? Like when I think power, I think maybe, like, for example, like a superpower, right? Not everyone can have that. It's something unique, something special, like a quirk, if you will. If you're My Hero Academia fan, shout out to the anime gamers. Um, So like not everyone has that. So that's why I'm thinking like if a leadership could be viewed as power. It might not have to be one-to-one mapping, but
It can be viewed as power.
yeah, and that okay. So you're saying it's not the exact same.
Oh, it's certainly not.
Yeah, okay. So
I mean,
so similar.
a shirt is not the same as pants, but they can be viewed as clothes.
Yeah. So I guess I should have said okay. So they're not the exact same. Okay then.
Oh,
So
definitely not the exact. I mean, leadership is a whole. Look, I went. I enrolled for my PhD in leadership, right? So I've studied leadership. I talk about leadership. I'm a student of leadership, and I'm a leadership coach, certified international executive leadership coach. So when it comes to leadership, I'm not guessing at this, right?
right.
And I deal with CEOs, directors, and presidents and whatnot. And so this is what I do for a living.
Okay.
So it is a distinction. And I don't want to be the guy that says, you know, leadership is authority or leadership is management. It's not.
Okay.
One of my leadership mantras that I tell people is people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
Yeah.
People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
I can see that.
So when you see employees out there, do all employees care about their boss?
No.
Do the bosses care about the employees? Oh, the boss ain't a leader. Period. They're a manager. They got power. They're in charge. They have authority. They have a title, but they're not leading.
Okay. And see, we talked about hobbies. I think that kind of also brought us into how are we living too, because you told us about what we like to do. Then let's see here. We talked about power. But before we talked about that, well, I mean, what else?
Change.
I don't know about that. You sure we changed? We talked about change?
Yeah, you talked
You know,
about
we should talk about change.
he talked about change.
Maybe I'm forgetting. My bad. I'm getting old nowadays, ladies and gentlemen. I apologize. No, we talked about that. But yeah, so no, we talked about change and we ended off with power. I think that was a good little segment, though.
Yeah.
And again, if y'all haven't been watching, you know, all these episodes do kind of build on top of one another because we talked about building and expanding foundation. We didn't talk about intelligence and hustle. Oh, we talked about hustle, not intelligence.
But we talked about intelligence and hustle in a different episode.
Oh yeah, I just meant on this episode. We didn't like everything builds and expands upon one another. We're not talking about all the episodes,
right?
But we will reference other ones. So I hope y'all are enjoying that. Even Reggie said something about cutting grass, and you saw my reaction is still.
Yard work. You're gonna do one day. You're gonna change. You're gonna move your arm.
I'm gonna adapt. Dog. There's one change. I promise. There's one thing I will keep from youth to adulthood is I don't like yard work.
All right,
I don't. But I mean,
there's always tomorrow.
Not do yard work. But I think that's the perfect time though to end the segment. We can skip flowers today because you were talking about yard work too much. That's too close to yard work. I don't like flowers enough that much. So, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you all have a good one. But please, before you do that, hit that like button, subscribe. You know, tell anybody who's anyone about the show. If you want to leave a comment or two, we appreciate that. My name is Trey. This is Reggie, and you listen to Just Living Life. So, I hope you all have a good one. Take care.
All right.